All right, everyone, let's learn how to crochet in the round. Crocheting in rows is an amazing way to create flat pieces, but if you're interested in creating stuffed animals and amigurumi, learning to crochet in the round really opens up a whole new world of the things that you can create in a crochet project. So let's go ahead and get started. In this video, I'm going to show you the simplest way to start your crocheting in the round project, but I do want you to know that there is a technique I love to use in my patterns, and it's called the magic circle. The magic circle can be really frustrating to a lot of people who are trying to learn, so I wanted to show you the easier way first so that you could dive right in. But I just want to make you aware we do have an extra video included in your Learn to Crochet set that's going to show you how to do the magic circle. So I want to show you this easy way first so that you can jump right in and start learning how to crochet in the round. But I want you to know that if you're ambitious and you want to try that magic circle technique, we do have a video on that as well. So make sure you check that out too. As we're practicing crocheting in the round, I'm going to use my bumblebee pattern from Our Friendly World as an example of how to follow a pattern and create the shape in the round that it is instructing you to. So the first line is to create 6 single crochet in a magic circle. As I mentioned, I do have a video showing you how to create a magic circle, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to show you the easier alternative. So to start, you're going to just chain 2. So remember, you create a slip knot, put that on your hook, and now create a chain of 2. So I'm going to do 1 and 2. And now instead of working in a magic circle, you're going to just work in that very first chain. So it says to work 6 single crochet into your magic circle, or in this case, into the first chain. So skip the chain closest to your hook, and in this first chain, you're going to work 6 stitches in the same spot. So start with 1 single crochet, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, and pull through all loops on the hook. Then you've created a single crochet. And again, right away, you want to mark this as the first stitch of your round. And this is important when you're crocheting in flat rows, but it's even more important when you're crocheting in the round, because once you get going in these continuous circles, you have no way of knowing where the first stitch of that round is if you don't mark it. So now I'm supposed to have a total of 6 stitches worked into this same starting point. So I have 1, I'm going to create 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now starting with your marked stitch, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you don't want this giant hole in the beginning of your project, so using the end of your yarn tail, you can pull on that to tighten up that chain. And now you have this tiny little bunch of 6 stitches. And then you've completed round 1. So now let's move on to round 2. For round 2, it lets us know to increase 6 times. And an increase is where you work 2 single crochet into 1 stitch. So you're doubling the number of stitches for that spot. And as you're working this, you want to make sure that you start in your very first stitch. And that's why we marked it right away, because we have a whole lot going on here. We have our turning chain and some extra pieces, and we don't want to accidentally work into the wrong spot. We want to work into that very first stitch. So here is my marked first stitch. I'm going to remove my stitch marker, and if you want to leave it in there so that you know, you can do that too, but I think it's a little easier to just move it out of the way. Make sure you know right where it came from. I'm just moving this yarn tail out of the way. And now I'm going to work into that stitch. This is the first stitch that I had marked, and I'm supposed to increase. So I'm working 2 stitches into this one. So here's my first single crochet, pull through once, and then pull through both loops, And since that's the first stitch of your round, you immediately mark it with a stitch marker. You're gonna regret it if you don't. Take it from someone who learned the hard way. And now, instead of moving on to this second stitch, I'm still supposed to be working into that same stitch. So here at the base of the crochet stitch I just made, you can still see the stitch you were working into, and I'm just gonna make a second single crochet in that same stitch. And now you're just gonna do that all the way around. So here's my next stitch right here. I'm going to work one single crochet into it, and then a second single crochet into it. So now where I had 2 stitches in the first round, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches in total. Now here's my next stitch. I'm going to work 1 single crochet and a second single crochet. Here's my next one, 1 and 2. Here's my next one, 1 and 2. And then here's my last stitch. I know it's my last stitch because the next one is marked as the first stitch of the round. So I know the one right next to it is the last one, 1 and 2. And now for the end of round 2, it says I should have a total of 12 stitches. So starting at my first one, I'm going to count and make sure. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then this last one where the loop should still be on my hook is 12. And you count those the exact same way. You're counting these little V shapes or these little bumps that you created. They look the same when they're worked in the round as they do when they're worked flat. And now you've completed round 2. If you counted and you didn't have the right number, you might have skipped a stitch somewhere or forgot to work 2 stitches into 1 stitch. Just the same way with a flat piece, you can frog a piece that's worked in the round. So just if you're messed up, you don't have the right number, you can always start over or just back up to the beginning of the round. And you want to make sure you have the right number, because if you don't have the correct number of stitches in this round, it gets harder and harder as you go along to correct it to the correct number. Now for round 3, we have these parentheses letting us know to work a single crochet followed by an increase, and then you're going to do that set 6 times. So let's do that now. Here's my first stitch marked with my stitch marker. Going to take my stitch marker out and work that first single crochet. And since that's the first stitch of the round, I'm immediately returning my stitch marker into my first stitch. So that was our first single crochet, and now in the next stitch, we're supposed to work an increase. So in this next stitch here, I'm going to work 1 single crochet and 2 single crochet. And now that set is what we're supposed to continue repeating. So in my next stitch, I'm going to work 1, and then after that, I'm going to work an increase, working 2 stitches into the same stitch. In my next stitch, I'll work 1, followed by 1 and 2 into the same stitch. And I'm going to continue that all the way around. 1 and increase, 1 and increase. And I know that if you're just starting out, you won't be working this fast, so feel free to pause the video at any point and keep practicing or backing up and starting over if you need to. And now I've reached the last stitch of the round. I know that because my next stitch is marked as the first one. And for round 3, I should have a total of 18 stitches. So I'm going to count and check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I'm on the right track. And now you can see for the next row, we're supposed to work 2 single crochet before we work an increase. So here's my first stitch single crochet and mark it. Work my second single crochet into the next stitch and then do an increase into the next stitch. 1 stitch, 2 stitch, increase. 1, 2, increase. And continue that all the way around. And if you stop in the middle and you don't remember what your next step was supposed to be, you can go back and count your stitches. So I'm going to start at my first stitch here that's marked, and I'm going to say 1, 2, and then the next 2 were my increase. 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase, 1. And now I know I need to work my second and then my increase. And I'm arriving at my last stitch, which is an increase, and my pattern tells me I should have 24 stitches. And that is correct. So now at this point, I just want to give you a couple of notes. I'm not following along with this bumblebee pattern anymore. I was just using that as an example of how those rounds are written out. But first off, you're gonna see that your piece starts to curl, and it's curling upward. But if you look at the back side, or in crochet, this is called the wrong side because it doesn't look nearly as nice as the front of those stitches you're making. So to make sure you want the right side facing out, you can start to curl those edges the other way. So that now, if I was making an animal out of this, the wrong side is on the inside that won't be showing, and the nice right side is on the outside. You might run into rows that are telling you to just single crochet all the way around. So in that case, you aren't going to do any increases. You're just going to single crochet in the first stitch and mark it, and then single crochet in every stitch of that round. So you aren't adding stitches, but you are adding some height to your piece. It's not getting wider, it's just getting taller. So you can practice with that, adding a row of just single crochet stitches. And now you can see that even though you didn't add any stitches, your piece is getting a little bit bigger. I also want to show you how to count your rounds so that you know where you're at. So if you look at the beginning of your piece, you can see this tiny little circle of stitches in the middle is where you started, and then there's sort of a line between each round. So here's round 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if you stop in the middle of a project and you don't take a note of where you left off, you can always count your rounds and count your stitches to see which round you're at and make sure the number of stitches in that round matches the pattern. Now that we've covered increase rounds and a single crochet round, I'm going to show you how to decrease, stuff a piece, and tie it off. There are a couple of different ways to decrease rounds, and I'm going to show you a decrease stitch. Some patterns will tell you to just skip a stitch, and that version's pretty easy. You just skip the next stitch and then work in the next few, but I want to show you what a decrease stitch looks like as well. So we're going to do 2 stitches and then a decrease. So working in this first stitch, I'm making my single crochet, work in my next one, and now we've arrived where we want to decrease 2 stitches into 1. So let me show you how to do that. Insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, and now you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that turned those 2 stitches into 1. And now in our next stitch, we're going to work 1 single crochet, and then the next one is a single crochet, and now we're going to decrease. Insert and pull up a loop, insert and pull up a loop, and then pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Now I'm going to work my next 2 single crochet and decrease, and do that all the way around. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, pull up a loop in the next one, and then through all 3. And now I should have 18 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now for the next round, I'm just going to do 1 stitch followed by a decrease. So create your first single crochet, and then decrease the next 2. So insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. 1 stitch followed by a decrease. And now you're at the point where the hole for your piece is starting to close up. So this is where you would stuff a piece. And again, this is just a little blob as an example. This isn't anything created for a specific stuffed animal, but you can start to stuff. I have my organic cotton stuffing here, and then you can work around it as you go. So for this last row, we're just going to do 6 decreases. There's no stitches in between the decreases. And so starting in these first 2 stitches, you're going to create a decrease. In your first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. In your second stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and then mark that stitch as the first stitch. And now you're just going to do that for all of the stitches. So first stitch, pull up a loop, second stitch, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. You're going to do that all the way around. I'm down to my last 2 stitches here. And now I'm just going to show you how to finish off a piece. So remove your stitch marker. If this is the last round of your piece, you take that stitch marker out, and now you'll create a slip stitch. So in the next stitch, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then pull it right through the loop that's already on your hook. So you're not creating a single crochet, it's just a slip stitch. Now you can snip your yarn and leave a long yarn tail for sewing. Pull that yarn through the loop on your hook all the way, and this ties it into a knot. You fasten it off, and now if you thread your tapestry needle with your yarn, I'll show you a little trick here for getting that on there. If you fold it over the edge of the eye, it makes it nice and sharp to get it into the eye. And you're just going to weave in and out of the stitches around that center circle. So I went under that one, over this one, under here, over, under, all the way back to the beginning. And when you pull that tight, it closes up that hole. If you wanted to add any extra stuffing, you want to do it before you close up that hole. And then you can just make a loop and tie it into a knot there. And you can tie a couple knots to keep it secure. And then you'll weave your end in, so you're just going to pull this yarn out through the other side of your piece or just a spot on your piece, and then trim it off as close to that piece as you can get it without cutting the piece. And now you can see you've created a little 3D stuffed crochet piece. Again, this isn't particular to any specific pattern, but it does get you started on the techniques you'll use to create any amigurumi stuffed animal. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out at any time.